Just before we meet the Grain Road and go into Belthorn, I'll just give you a little bit of background to this walk, because it was inspired by a letter that Alfred Wainwright wrote to his friend Eric Maudsley in February 1941. But just before that, Emily, Alfred Wainwright's mother, had written to him in 1940, disappointed that he was no longer to be seen in Furthergate Church on a Sunday, which was closer to his old house in Audley Range. And she actually said in this letter to her son, hopefully he would still find God in the little chapel at Belthorn. And Wainwright obviously may have took his mother's advice, because in the letter he wrote to Eric Maudsley in February 1941, snow was on the Lancashire moors surrounding Blackburn, as it is today. And he opens the correspondence by stating, "It is the Sabbath day. This morning I climbed the hill to Belthorn to worship in the little chapel there, and returned feeling well rewarded. The trudge through the snow was really invigorating. The service was good, but best of all were the magnificent views from the top of the hill." So we want to find out where this chapel was in Belthorn, the chapel that Wainwright obviously enjoyed visiting in February 1941. So we're going to carry on up, cross the Grain Road and enter Belthorn. So the building, the sort of structure here, just before on the Grain Road, is actually an old capped coal mine shaft, which there's quite a lot marked on the map on the moors around here. Belthorn was an area for coal mining, and a lot of the tracks that came from Belthorn carried the coal, such as to Clitheroe, and then they brought lime back from Clitheroe to Belthorn. So coal and cotton, the two C's, or if you want to add chapel to that, the three C's, coal, cotton, chapel, were the heart of the industrial village in the 19th and early 20th centuries. You could also add the pub to that. It doesn't begin with a C, but coal, cotton, chapel, pub. And there's not many of any of those four left anymore, particularly around Belthorn. Still got a pub going, just about. So, as I'd hoped, I've just crossed the Grain Road, and you can look back. We're looking back north, trying to point in the right direction. You won't be able to see it on the camera, but you can actually see Blackburn in one of Wainwright's outlying fells right at the back. So Blackburn often can be seen around these parts as it sticks out into the Irish Sea. So very lucky today that we can actually, it's clear enough beyond Bolland Fells to just look to the left of that and see Blackburn sticking out. And hopefully, well, I imagine that Wainwright may have seen it on his trip up here in 1941, and he would have obviously been familiar with the Lake District by then, having first visited in 1930. And we don't forget that in 1941, the end of 1941, he actually moved to the Lake District. So perhaps it was days like this, walking in Lancashire moors, getting a distant view of the fells in the Lake District, that really made him decide he really needed to leave and go and live in the Lake District. Okay, just before we enter the village, you can see some of the houses there. I'll just show you. I'll move the camera around and show you what I can see, but probably what the camera can't pick up in the far distance. So you can looking out towards the you can see Blackpool Tower, just about Blackpool Tower, Lancashire coast. Then you got a little wooded hill, Halton Tower, and then Billinge Hill, which is nearer Blackburn, and you can see a little bit of the North Lancashire coast, Morecambe Bay. Then we've got Blackcombe, then we've got the Bowland Fells, Longridge Fell, moving around to the Yorkshire Dales, to Ingleborough, Pennygent, Pendle Hill, then the Calder Valley, which comes out of Burnley, and then over to Hamilton Hill, and then the near one with the wind turbines on is Oswald Twistle Moor, and the bus just coming round there. This is the main road now going down into the Haslingden Valley and Rossendale, proper East Lancashire. Okay, so we've just come to the end of this footpath, and we're on the old village street, the old village road at the top end of the village. You can see it's looking down to the village there, and this used to be the old Haslingden Road before the Grain Road diversion was built, bypassing the village. So as I say, that's looking back to Oswald Twistle Moor. This road hasn't been gritted, and we're going to walk down into the village of Belthorn. So here in Belthorn village, and if you look behind these little terrace row, the mystery of Belthorn Chapel will reveal itself. This is actually a little cobbled track, and here are the gates to the chapel. Belthorn Graveyard. And if we go through the gates, we will see that there is no chapel. So the chapel, sorry to spoil the ending for you, I was trying to keep it till I got here. The chapel was actually where this big white patch of snow was. It's now just grass. And we'll put an old photo of the chapel on here, hopefully, so you get some idea of how it looked. And all that's left is the graveyard. It's overlooked by that little row of terraces, and you can see the outlook of the little chapel where Wainwright came to worship on the Sunday of February 1941. Perhaps with this view and the view to the lakes, contemplating a possible move later in the year to Kendal. Still used, but a bit like the Furthergate Church, which was the first chapel, this chapel is no longer here. So a tale of two chapels, both of which have gone, and both of which we knew Wainwright went to worship in, and apparently enjoyed the service here when he came here on that Sunday in February 1941. So he wasn't letting his mother down. The foundation stone is here. This was actually the foundation stone to the chapel. The chapel was just at the back of it, the memorial seat. Can't actually read it. Looks like 1884. So looking back at Belthorn village now, you can appreciate its geography. It's a hilltop village. It's actually got pretty cold up there. It's about 1,000 feet up at the top. I had to put my gloves on just where the chapel is, and then it quickly drops downhill again from like the top of the hill. And so we're going back a different way, the quicker way really. I'm just going to follow the road down to Guide Village. I might stop in Guide Village and show you some of the sites where we have to cross the motorway. And then when you hit Blackburn, you'll see how it's changed a lot since Wainwright lived on Shadsworth Road. There's the big industrial estate now and the hospital development. There we go. So we'll see you in Guide. So we've reached Guide Village, which has this interesting signpost, entrance to the village. We're more or less in Blackburn. Shadsworth Road, where Wainwright lived, is just down the way there. Obviously a lot busier than it was in 1941. Guide Village sort of would have been a sort of semi-rural settlement, the gateway to the moors. And now it's sort of in this slipstream of busy Shadsworth Road coming up from the hospital and the business park. So I'm going to end the walk here, and I'm going to make my way down to Blackburn just along the road and say happy birthday, Mr. Wainwright. I bought my own cup, I bought my own tea. I'll go to the pub later. And quite a good place to stop this, as I found this bench which has a lovely quote from John Ruskin, who will be familiar to lovers of the Lake District. Kind hearts are the garden, kind thoughts are the roots, kind words are the blossoms, kind deeds are the fruits. So I'll leave you with a quote from John Ruskin, and also say, keep walking, keep talking. As Arthur Seaton once said, all the rest is propaganda. So thanks for joining me on the walk, and hopefully we'll see you on one soon.